Hello and welcome to the last video in this mini-series. I really hope it's given you so far like a real good look at what's going to be included in the course. This is just one quick tutorial, and in the course we go into so much more detail into how to bring your ceremony designs to life. There's going to be so many more resources, so many more brushes, and everything you need to create really professional, unique designs for your clients. Now today I'm just going to quickly show you how we can add a background in to really finalize this illustration. We're going to add some grass to under the chairs in the really simple format of just adding a green block. We're going to add shadows under the greenery so that we can add depth and realism to our illustration. And then we're going to add a watercolor effect to our illustration just to add that kind of unique artistic feel to our design. And finally, I'll show you quickly how to upload an image of your logo onto the design so that you can keep it aligned with your company branding. So you can see this is where we were last week. First thing we're going to do is create the background. So I shared with you the PNG file right at the very beginning. That is our background. It's just a light pastel-y sunset watercolor that I've created. And in the main course, you'll have a whole bonus set of these so that you don't have to just have either a plain background or draw one yourself. There'll be 20 different ones that you can choose from, and you just simply import these into the back of your screen. Alternatively, in the course also, I'll show you how you can import an image of the actual venue. If you happen to have one or you took one when you were on a site visit, that is an exceptional way to show your clients exactly what their ceremony will look like in exactly the location. But for now, what we're going to do is go and find that sunset image layer that we uploaded in lesson 2. And all you're going to do is turn that layer on, and you can see now this kind of background is laid out. Selecting the arrow icon here and having freeform selected, if I just move my canvas slightly, what I want to do is I'm just going to raise this up slightly so that it sits kind of in the horizon of our image, somewhere like there. And then I want to show underneath these chairs that we're kind of representing the concept that it's an outdoor wedding and it's on a grassed area. So let's create a new layer above our background. All I'm going to do here, you don't even have to draw this in. This is a really handy quick tip. If you use this kind of S icon, which is our selection tool, I have rectangle selected and color fill is highlighted blue. All you're going to do is highlight an area kind of to the midway of that stage, select it, release, and what it will do is color fill whatever color you have up here. So if I tap on our color palette, and in the palette I shared with you, there's a couple of greens you can choose from there. Select whichever one works for you, or alternatively go into the disc and make any tweaks you'd like to make there. Now that's one of the simplest ways of just giving the kind of sense that these chairs are on grass and it's an outdoor wedding. You can move this background anywhere you like, just so it works really nicely. And also you're really highlighting the shape of this stage too. Next up, let's add some shadows. Now these aisle greenery and flower pieces are quite bold, they're quite dense, and they wouldn't be allowing much of the light to get through. So what I'm going to do is merge the flowers onto the greenery. Because we're happy with where they are, I'm going to merge those two just down into one layer. I'm going to duplicate that layer, select the one underneath because we want the shadows to sit underneath the flowers. I'm going to use the arrow tool to select that, and I've got freeform selected. What I want to do is just move the greenery so it sits kind of below and inside the actual kind of arrangements here. And then select this magic wand tool, hue, saturation and brightness, and you're going to drop that brightness all the way down to 0, and that is our shadow there. Now obviously it's far too kind of bold for reality, so when we go back into the layer, we select where you have this N here, which is our opacity. You can reduce this opacity down, usually to around 10%, and you have now got this really beautiful subtle shadow that sits underneath your flowers, and it just adds, if I toggle on and off, it adds so much realism to your design. We can also go and do the same with our stands. I'm going to merge the flowers onto the greenery. I'm going to merge the two layers together. Let's duplicate them both. Select the bottom layer, and just to make this easier so you can see it, if you do the hue, saturation and brightness to 0 first, then when you select that layer and move it, you'll be able to see where the shadow is going to be. And obviously we don't need the shadow up here so much, but on the ground, on the stage, it would be good to show a little bit of shadow. So you can go into this layer now and just bring it right down. And for the areas I do not want to see shadow, I'm going to select my eraser and that round brush, and let's just remove the shadows from these top kind of 2 areas here. But you're still seeing the shadows on the stage. And let's do the same with those back arrangements. I'm going to duplicate, select the bottom layer, we drop the brightness to 0, and just move the shadows down and kind of inside the arrangement so that we're seeing them on the ground. Again, if you want to do the erasing at this point, when you can really see that bold black shadow, go and do that now. We don't need shadows up here. We will want to see them on the stage. Something like this. And then drop that shadow right down. And you can tweak the placement of it. Like so. And you can just see how simple it is to create a touch of realism to these illustrations. Now, one of the last things I'm going to show you is one of my favorite things to do. The illustrations I like to present to my clients have a kind of artistic watercolor look and feel. They're slightly faded at the edges, and I like to represent them as if they are actual watercolor paintings. The degree to which you do this is completely up to you, and again, it will depend on your style, on your brand and the aesthetic you're trying to portray. But I'm going to show you this very quick technique that allows you to add a kind of watercolor effect. So in our layers, I'm going to go and add a layer right at the very top. So it's going to be the first thing you see on the screen. I'm going to select white and drop white into that shape. So it is in front of everything on the screen. You've basically just added a white layer of wash right over the top. Now just nudge this opacity down slightly so you can see the focal point of your illustration. And then all we're going to do with our eraser brush and the watercolor brush selected is just do a quick wash over the screen, mostly in the center, working out to the edges. Don't remove too much of the edge. I don't like to ever see a straight line at the edge. We can now bring that opacity right up because now we can see through that white. And all I'm doing is removing the white. I'm erasing the white layer we've just added to show the illustration. And I like to do this, it just adds a really nice touch. You can remove as much or little as you want. You can leave the center fairly watercolor, kind of a watercolor feel if you like. I like to just erase a fair bit from the center, and you leave the edges with this kind of nice white faded edge, and your eyes now are drawn into the center of the illustration, and it just adds a little something that's unique, artistic, creative, and it's just a better product to present. And the very last thing I'm going to show you is how to add your logo to your illustration. So you can see in the corner of this illustration, I've always had my logo just sat here. And all that simply is a layer that I've added at the very top of the illustration. So all you need to do is select the wrench tool, select add. I have my logo saved as an image on my iPad, or you can go and select it as a file. And all I'm going to do is select my logo. Ideally, it's best to have one that has a transparent background. With uniform selected, you're just going to resize and move this logo to wherever you want to have it in your illustration. And this is another great reason to have this faded white edge, because it will make your logo stand out nicely in the corner. But that way, every time you present to your client, your logo will be on your illustration. And if you were to add it into a design deck or something like that, it's just consistent with your branding. There we go, we're all finished. Thank you so much for following along with me. I really hope, even though for some of you that have maybe never used Procreate before, it is a bit of a learning step, but as we keep practicing adding the colors, working through the drawing process, it just becomes much more easy to do, and eventually you'll be able to bring your concepts to life really quickly, even in front of your clients, or spend a bit of time behind the scenes creating these illustrations and adding them to your design decks. As I've mentioned over the last few weeks, I have the main ceremony illustration course. So if you haven't already done so, there has been a button in every one of these emails. Just add your name to the list. I will send you information about what's included, the modules you're going to get, the brushes you're going to get, the freebies, the bonuses, everything that's included. There's also going to be a payment plan for this one too. So just keep your eyes peeled, and if you have any questions about any of these last few lessons, please let me know. You can just reply to the email and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're inspired and ready to hop on the course with me, and I will see you very soon.